Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. You're listening to Home in Progress, brought to you by RepcoLite Paints and Benjamin Moore. And today's show is kind of a surprise. It's really fun. It's going to be a blast from the past. I'm in the studio with Hailey from the show, Hailey Johnson, and we're going to talk about some stuff that she's got going on in her life. She's doing a lot with art, and we're going to get to all of that and touch on some interior design tips as well at the end. But let's just jump right in. Hailey, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Dan.
Yeah, it's really good to have you back. It's been, about a year and a half since...
I think so, yeah, because it was about a year and a half ago when I divorced the show.
Yep, Hailey, divorced the show. Nothing to do with me.
No bad feelings.
Or personalities.
It wasn't about Dan.
We
just
weren't
had
fighting
a
about
vision.
anything. You wanted to go and do some training at RepcoLite, and it was going to be product training, but also like
color
really
training.
lean into color training.
Yeah, which is
so
what I'm passionate about, and I felt like there was a real opportunity to have a large effect on the people that were coming into our stores, right? Like the people that are listening right now, and to create all of these minions out there.
Yeah. She's trying to create a cult, a following.
I need a little Hailey army.
No, we had talked about it, that, the product training is so important. And that part's kind of easy to wrap your brain around, which primers would I use here? Which products are the most durable for this situation? Mm-hmm. And you were handling a lot of that, and which products to use, which covers and brushes and all that. But the color thing was a little bit of a harder sell. Yeah. To even get our brains around, yours and mine, and then to take this idea up. But at the end, we came up with this, kind of conclusion that I could paint everything perfectly. I could have all the skills necessary, use all the right tools. I could use the best paint ever. Yeah. And if I hate the color,
none of it mattered.
None of it matters.
Yeah.
And that's where color kind of trumps everything.
Exactly.
If the color's good, and I think even the flip side,
right?
Because we played that out. If the color's good, but I didn't do quite as good a job, or it doesn't last as long as I wish it did, I'm still way happier. Yeah, way happier. Everything else is perfect, but I hate the color. I can't live in a space where I hate the color.
Exactly.
But if I love it, it really invites me in. So that's what you kind of went to do, and you did that for a while. But all the time that I've known you, and way beyond, you're an artist first and foremost.
Right.
And
yeah, this was the day job.
Yes, this
like most artists have the day job. This was the day job, and I was grateful that I worked in something that felt related, right? Like color is very related to my field in the arts. But yeah, I am an artist. I also, I mean, for a long time, previous to moving to Grand Rapids even, have curated shows and had built a small mobile art gallery when I was still living in Portland, Oregon. And you guys all heard me talk about renovating my garage so that I could have this new version of what in Portland was called Hammer Space Gallery.
Your little portable.
Yes.
What happened to the portable pop-up? Didn't it get left on the road somewhere?
It did. In Montana during a snowstorm on top of a mountain.
What happened to something with the wheel?
The wheel came off. I was very unprepared and was feeling the pressure of getting stuck in a snowstorm in the mountains, by myself. I just was like, okay, bye.
Unhitched the trailer. There went that dream for a while. Then you get your house and you start renovating this garage. It's completely detached from the house. It's a ways from the house.
Yes.
Kind of lent itself perfectly to this space. You talked about it on the show. You've got it converted. Yeah. And it's your Hammer Space
Gallery 2.0.
Gallery 2.0. And that's kind of what you're leaning into right now.
Yes.
So why don't you talk about that? Tell people what is Hammer Space? What in the world? An art gallery in a garage? Yeah. What are you even talking about?
Well, yeah, it's funny in West Michigan because I think people hear or gallery in a garage and it feels very experimental and very strange. And
we don't even use the word experimental. We go straight to strange.
Yeah, that's just weird.
Nuts.
I'm not gonna go there. No, but I think spaces like this are so important. They've always existed. Here's the thing. Artists run spaces in like whatever space has been available to them, whether it's their homes, warehouses, converted businesses, garages, like they've always existed. From the beginning of time, artists have needed spaces to work and show their work before they can end up in museums where we go and see them later down their career path. But before they can get into a museum, they have to have smaller venues, artist-run spaces that are willing to trust them enough to make some mistakes potentially, because that's not an option. Once you get into high-end galleries or museums, you can't make the mistakes anymore. You have to
by
have
hosting an artist that you. Is that what you're saying?
It's kind of an unknown. Yeah.
Okay,
You know, like you don't just get invited into a museum without having established clarity of vision that you know how to put on an exhibition.
So just because I've got a bunch of macaroni art,
that
doesn't mean
not
I'm getting
enough.
anywhere.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's got the gold spray paint on it, so it kind of looks metallic.
Oh, it's interesting, Dan. You'll have to show me sometime.
Maybe we could work out something for Hammer Space. We'll talk about that off air.
Yeah.
So are there lots of these areas? I mean, there's not a lot of places around us right here like Hammer Space.
Exactly. And there's been like a real need for other artist-run spaces to exist in West Michigan in general.
Do we have a lot of other spaces where like established artists can show up and display their stuff? Or is it just a dearth of all of this?
Right. Like there's a few galleries in Grand Rapids, but nowhere near the amount that there should be, in my opinion, for a city that actually has like a legitimate art school downtown. Like not just a college with an art program, but an art school, right? Kendall is right downtown. We have, how many artists graduating every single year in our city, and where are they showing their work afterwards? How are we retaining any of those people that have moved to our city and giving them places to show? And I'm the type of person that, like, if it doesn't exist, I'm just going to make it myself. And I encourage everyone to do that. Like, if the table doesn't exist, if you're not being invited to the dinner, just build your own table. And then eventually, guess what? You get invited to the table of other people's stuff. Like, I've seen that work for myself, even just in running Hammer Space Gallery, showing work in my backyard. Now I'm getting invited to show my work other places, because you just have to establish clarity of vision first. And it's a weird, like, cart before the horse sort of scenario where you have to have the experience to get the experience. And so Hammer Space is really a gallery focused on giving artists spaces to show work that might not make it into a commercial gallery because it's not super sellable, right? There's that facet too of, I'm not a painter personally, and I know a lot of wonderful painters. They have some options available to them for showing their art that installation artists and sculptors just don't have the luxury of. We can't hang this cleanly on a wall. It takes up an entire room. So now how do you get someone to give you that amount of square footage dedicated to just your work?
And that's what you're doing at Hammer Space.
Yes, we're really focused on installation art, on sculpture, and even if the work itself, it could be a suite of paintings that are going in, but like if they're meant to all be seen together as one body of work and not individual pieces, that's what I'm interested in showing and giving space for. But the other thing that Hammer Space does that I really am passionate about is also giving parent artists spaces to be supported and show their work as well, because there is kind of an inhospitableness that the art world creates around parent artists, because we can't be major producers of work, and we have gaps in our CVs where we haven't shown. So you're literally
talking about people with kids. It's not some fancy art.
Literally just like people with kids don't necessarily fit within like the constraints that the art world wants you to fit within, that you're supposed to like just be able to produce your work and like focus on making, and to go to other countries to like have residencies so that you can network, and like that's how you get your artwork in this other gallery. Like there's so much that's just a part of how you build a career in the arts that does not for any second take into the fact that like you have a family.
Yeah, you're potty training.
Yeah, right? Like there are other things in life. I can take a few minutes to
ask if he's got to, go to the bathroom.
Yeah. And so I've heard from other artist mothers especially that have like taken breaks from their practice after they've had children, where like really it's a hard thing to come back into your career as an artist after stepping away and really getting back into your own voice again, as well as a person that's been like really transformed in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the voices of mothers and of parents are extremely important. They're extremely valuable, and that space needs to be created to show their work and have their kids come to the opening, right? Like not feeling like, oh, it's a gallery. Can't bring my kid.
Right.
But like,
it's very, very,
bring your family
in that regard.
The kids can play in the yard while like you go in and look at some art. And if they want to look at it for a minute, great. But like also they can just run around and be loud and be a kid. So I'm really happy about what Hammer Space is bringing to the table.
So you mentioned installation art because you've got an exhibit that we want to talk about in this first half, and then we're going to talk about how we apply some of these things that you can learn from installation art to home design, interior design. But let's talk about installation art. I'm sure there's a bunch of people out there listening right now.
I've said that word.
Talking about. What is installation art? Does it mean like you got a big painting and they brought it in and it had to be installed by professionals? It's different than that. Yeah,
I never even like really, that's a really interesting way to think about what installation art might mean to people that like we're just focused
That's
on.
What I thought when you first said it. Installation art. Oh, that's big stuff.
Yeah. Where they need like professional installers.
You need those big screws. You got to make sure you get those in the studs.
Mm-hmm. They're really focused on hardware.
Not that though. Surprisingly.
No, it's funny because this is a word that's existed for a while now. Like 75 years, artists have been making installation art, what we call that. And what we're used to seeing or hearing about in terms of art are things like paintings and sculptures. And those are objects.
Mm-hmm.
Installation art is really kind of breaking away from the object and looking at an entire environment that's being created. So it's something that you experience by being in the space. So it's not just a painting on a wall that could be separate from whatever else is in the room and still be the piece. It doesn't represent the installation if it's by itself. But it could be.
There can be a painting on the wall.
Yes.
It's just that's not it. I don't look at that for a little bit and now move to the next thing. I'm trying to experience all of this together.
Right. It's relational, right? So like we're really focused on the conversation between the pieces and the meaning or questions that we draw from those pieces all being in the room together, because it's really about the relationship between these things and also like your relationship to the space and how you're being directed through it by the environment that's being created. So it's very much an type of art that's experiential.
Experiential. I was going to say it's experienced. You said it a little smarter than I would have, but that's all right. That's okay. I'm here for the regular folks. You're here for the 4 intelligent people that listen. Now, you've got an exhibit coming up. That's the first one that's off-site. So we just described Hammer Space.
Yes.
You've got heaviest coming up.
Yeah.
Let's start with the title. What's up with the title? And are we talking literal weight? Are we talking emotional weight? Is there any way to pin that down?
Right?
Okay.
Like it could be physical, spiritual.
So that's that's what it's called.
Heaviest. Yeah. And I think the title's a little tongue in cheek. Because you can say like heaviest, it's the heaviest. Right. But if you continue to say
heaviest is what
heaviest, like, well, that sort of breaks now.
Yep.
And it's just absurd. And I think that's kind of the point, because it's also what we experience in our daily lives now as people that are on their phones and like consuming information on a pretty constant stream. And so like
sad information, is that what you're talking about? Heavy like that?
I think, like good things can be heavy too. Like love can feel weight in our bodies, right? But whether it's like the news of a baby being born and like feeling a lot of excitement for that, and then like switching to something that's like, wow, okay, like that's really bad. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing these things like in a timeline, like all together, and all of them feel like they carry or should carry some weight.
Huge amount of weight. Yep.
And yet we scroll through them as if like all of them weigh the same and nothing at all, right? Like when everything is heaviest, it means nothing carries weight anymore. And I think that that's a real, it's a dangerous thing about our relationship to our phones and technology. And it affects the way that we experience each other in real life, right? I mean, we all know these things. I think we all feel that. And it's just a conversation that I think is important to kind of have some questions around and create an experience that allows people to slow down and really consider.
And I think for you that makes, that makes perfect sense. I don't mean that. How do I say this, what I want to say? You live in the art world. And I think for you to think of art as asking a question, bringing up something that's worth having a conversation about makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I don't know, I can speak for me, 4 years ago before I met you, I would have thought art is here to look good against my couch. That's
right.
what I'm thinking. I'm not thinking about art as raising all kinds of questions, and if the artists are, it's because they're, doing some kind of, political activism
weird
or something,
thing.
That's, but that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about creating this exhibit, this installation art. That's what heaviest is.
Yes.
We walk through and we're confronted, whether in whatever way, right? I mean, maybe what we take out of that.
Exactly. It's what you take from it. And there's sculpture in the space. There's a kinetic sculpture in the space. And there's a sound piece that's being composed live at the event. And so like none of this stuff is scary. It's just that like you can walk in and instead of feeling like that's pretty or like that could be decoration or that can go in my home, our normal relationship to art, I think, especially in West Michigan, is that it's decorative to a certain extent. And I think that I personally am very interested in art that has a question behind it and allows the audience to ask a question. And that's like the point. And I feel like it starts to feel inaccessible because we don't know what that is, but that's like precisely the experience that the artist is after is, can I create a question in the audience's mind? And so, if you walk into the room and you just have a lot of questions about like what you're looking at, then perfect, like mission accomplished.
So for anybody listening, I mean, I'm sure that they're hearing some of this as highfalutin and, it's very heady stuff and I'm not that. That's not me. This is for anybody. And like you said, there's no fear that should be involved. You don't come and nobody's looking at you for answers. If you walk in and you're completely blown away, I have no idea what's happening. Yeah. Where am I? What is going on?
Everyone in the room is feeling the same thing.
You've made it.
Yeah.
You're one of the group. You're one of us now. And that's really, I get trying to get over that hump.
Yeah.
Because that was it's tough. Hard for me to do. I've gone to a couple of these to see what you're talking about. And I don't understand what you're talking about all the time, but I don't need to.
Right.
I can raise questions, ask questions, and I may not leave that with any idea of heaviest whatever. I'm going to get my own version of something.
Exactly.
But doing that, as weird as it sounds, and it maybe does to a bunch of people listening, there's so much value to be had in that. It's a new experience. It's thinking about something in a new way. You've got good snacks.
Yeah. Right? And like, don't we all crave novelty to like a certain extent in our lives? Like if we've seen it all, done it all, like what's the point? Like I feel like we all crave novelty. And so this is just a novel experience.
There's a number of things that ever since Hailey came on the show, you from the very beginning had way different ideas about pretty much everything that I did. Yeah. And we butted heads at times in a constructive way. Sometimes not as constructive because I get stubborn. I get scared. Like I get scared because I'm thinking, how do I bring this to the audience and not have people like have their brains melt because I don't know how to explain this. And yet, what I've learned by stretching is, some of my favorite things, some of the lessons is the wrong word. Some of the things that I think about that have changed who I am most have come from things that we have done, you and I, on the show or for events that have pushed me way outside. David Lynch.
Yeah.
We did a design event talking about David Lynch, who's a weirdo.
He's a weirdo.
In a lot of ways.
He's a weirdo.
You told me don't even listen to him speak.
Yeah.
Because you can't listen to it. Just read what he said. Because if you listen to him speak, you're going to tune him out. But I got through it. And I learned so much from that man. And it's so interesting. And I would not have been there had you not pushed me out of my comfort zone. Frank Gehry, you name it. I mean, there's all kinds of people in this world. I always bring up Picasso because I didn't go to art school, but I had a wonderful art history class that was a whole year's worth, and I loved every moment of that. And I would just think, I don't get what they're doing. How do people think these are, just geniuses? And yet once you start to realize what they're pushing and the questions they're raising, it becomes so interesting. You just start to see things. You start to ask more questions, be willing to try the next thing.
Yeah.
So I really encourage you, if you are even remotely interested, this is coming up when? March
14th from 4:30 to 7:30.
Where is it? We need to talk about where it is, too.
So it's at Do Not Start, which is a new nonprofit. It's an art collective, I guess is what I would call it. But they've got studio spaces for artists that are affordable. They have community spaces that can be rented. And also just like giving artists access to things like a wood shop, screen printing, space and materials for a monthly membership fee, which is just really important to have those resources available in our community. Again, when we have a literal art school not far away from it. Where are these graduates going? What are they doing after they leave school? And it's a great opportunity. So
Do Not Start. It's March
14th from 4:30 to 7:30, and it's in Southwest Grand Rapids. There's like 4 warehouses on Godfrey now that all house creative businesses and artist studios. So it's a very up and coming area with lots of interesting shopping and you're supporting the local art ecosystem in a way that hasn't existed here in many years now.
Now there's no cost for it.
Nope, there's no cost. It's a free event. So if you want to make a donation, we're nonprofit, so we would love it, but it is not required.
All right. And when people get there, I mean, maybe 2 minutes, 1 minute and a half.
Yeah.
What are they going to experience?
So it's a large warehouse that you're pulling up to, right? Like this warehouse is 21,000 square feet, and you're going to find parking either behind the building or on Hall Street. And when you enter the building, you're going to walk into a space that's filled with artist studios, sectioned off like cubicles. And then you're going to go upstairs to where the art exhibition lies. Up there, you'll experience sculpture and sound, and you'll snack on some meats and cheeses and crackers and drink some wine.
Boards.
And just enjoy talking to your friends in a different environment.
Can you talk in this space?
Yes, you can talk.
How long
you can laugh.
Take me to wander through it? Can I weep? Should I feel the desire to weep?
I mean, it's open to whatever you...
Whatever emotion.
Whatever you...
How long does it take me to traverse the area? Is there a time? I mean, is it huge? Am I going to be there for... Well, it's open for 3 hours.
It's open for 3 hours.
Do I need 3 hours?
You could spend 5 minutes in the space if you wanted to. I'd be happy you came out and saw it. Yeah, I'll be there. It'd be fun to see people that know me from my RepcoLite era.
Yeah. So we'll put all of that in the show notes if you want to check it out. Encourage you to get out there. Just stretch your boundaries a little bit. I mean... What are we doing in March anyway? Exactly. Like, what else is there to do right now? Go out. You'll be smarter for it. Right? Yeah. I mean, yeah. We'll all be smarter. All right. Let's take a break. When we come back, let's talk about applying some of this installation art and the concepts of it to our own home design. Should we do that? Let's do it. All right. We'll be back in just a minute. Stick around. Home in Progress is brought to you by RepcoLite Paints and Benjamin Moore. You know, people often think of paint as just another line item on the project supply list. But here's the thing. Everything you do, every hour of prep, every stroke of the brush, all comes down to the quality of the paint. The paint is the project. Make sure it's the best. And I'm in the studio with Hailey Johnson, previously from RepcoLite. Currently, Hailey is the director and curator of Hammer Space. And we're talking about an art exhibit that she's got going on coming up March 14. We talked about that last segment. Now we want to focus on different lessons, interior design lessons that we can learn from installation art. And Hailey, let's just make it practical for everybody listening. And you had, in this great email that you sent me, great as in like the Great Depression or the Great War, big, not as in it was the most awesome email, but it was a big email. And you talked about everything we just covered, but you also said you wanted to talk about some lessons or principles or skills, is probably the best way to pull it, that we can learn from installation art. And, let's say somebody who's listening, some of these people never go to an installation art show. What can we actually learn still from the concept of installation art and use that in our interior design and stuff like that? And you had 4 different principles that you threw out there. The first one was this: we can learn to look at the relationship between objects, not just the objects themselves.
Yeah.
What does that mean for people out there right now? Let's make it really clear. What does that mean for my mom?
It's tricky sometimes because I think that when we're decorating our homes or designing homes, we have a tendency to see things separately. Like, do I like that couch? Yes, I do. That will be the couch that I buy. And there's no question because you liked it. And if it's in the space, it's the right size. So why not get it? But I think that answer can change when you start looking at that couch and thinking about how it goes with the rug or what it does to the painting on the wall that's right behind it, or how you move around the space in a different way because now maybe it's got a slightly deeper seat. And so thinking about the entire space in relationship to the couch is being affected by that decision.
Do you think people don't do that regularly?
I think that sometimes it's easy to just look at a singular object. You can go shopping and really love a lamp, and then maybe you get it back home and you realize, oh, that's actually the way I have to turn that on is super awkward because of how I move around this space normally and how that changes the way that I interact now with the space. Right?
So installation art is partly about.
It's how you're moving through a space, and it's how these objects or paintings or sculptures in the space are
working together, but also how I interact with them as I move through it.
Exactly.
I can see that. I think I would think a lot of people are going to figure, how is that couch going to look against my, the picture that I've got there? How's it going to look with this chair? That part makes sense to me, even with the rug. I do think that we don't think about what is this going to do to the flow of the room and how I move through the room. Because I'll sit on things and I'll think, okay, can I sit here and have my feet touch the floor and not feel like I'm 8? No, got to keep looking for a smaller chair. But I'll get something and I'll sit in it and I'll feel comfortable in it and I'll double check the fabrics and then I bring it to the space, and everything you just said, it changes how I move through the room. It changes the whole feel of the room. And you're saying pay more attention to those kinds of things. Exactly.
How you're moving through the space and how it's affected by the things that you put in the room.
And I like the idea with the lamp thing. I've done that with, I can't remember what it was, something that needed to open one way and to make my room flow the way I was used to. And the new thing I bought opened the other way. And it wasn't like I could just swap the door around. It wasn't one of those things.
Exactly.
So it was kind of a bummer, and we had to readjust, and it never quite felt right. The space, it looked good.
Right.
It didn't feel good.
Exactly. And I think that that's one of the other points that I had in this list, right? Is we can really start focusing on feeling as one of the key principles to design. Because I think, again, that's really what any art is after, is to invoke a feeling. Not an answer, but baseline, we're looking for a feeling to happen.
So you're saying that one of the things we can learn is something, and we've talked about this on the show before, is when you're trying to figure out colors, that's where you're going with this, something like that, trying to pull your space together.
Yes.
Don't get so hung up on immediately figuring out what colors I'm going to go with. You got to start with, what am I trying to create here?
Yeah.
What is the atmosphere I want?
What is the feeling that you're after?
And that's going to inform where you go with paint colors and who knows what else.
Yeah. Everything from that point becomes very easy to answer, because if you've landed on the feeling that you want to create, now there's like not a question of, is that the right paint color? Well, does it create the feeling that you were after in you? If it doesn't, then it's a no. You can like it and it could still not be right. And I think the same goes for literally everything we put in our homes. Does it create the feeling that I am after? If it does, good. If it doesn't, then it doesn't work. And I think that is one of the main principles of installation art is, how is this environment creating the feeling that I'm after?
And that's what the artists are working together. So like at Heaviest,
yeah,
you've got 3 different artists.
There's 4 different artists. Yeah.
They're not collaborating. They've each got their own pieces. But
2 of them are collaborating, actually.
Okay.
So there's 2 artists in collaboration with each other making a singular work. And then there's an artist with their own work. And then there's a sound artist. So a little bit different. They're really creating like...
But they're all working to create this concept of...
Heaviest.
So they've got a feeling they're aiming at, and they're all doing it in their own way.
Right.
How they're going. But the first thing is to get that feeling figured out. Same thing for our spaces. Any space in the home. Get that feeling figured out. That's going to, like you said, inform all the other decisions you make. It's going to take a lot of stuff right off the table, because that is so frustrating when there's 8 million choices.
Yeah.
You know, we always say that's such a great thing. Oh, come on in. We got 5,000 different colors to choose from.
Well, because like, how do you make a choice when you can like so many things?
Right. And you know, I like almost everything. I mean, I am so open to everything that it's all on the table.
Yeah, it becomes really hard.
Something to give me a little boundary. So start with that. So that's 2 of them. Another idea that you had was that everything can be intentional. You know, you got to start with intentionality. In installation art, every material choice matters. How do we connect that to the interior of our homes?
I think this is, speaking from an installation artist perspective, I think this is like one of those things that can drive you crazy. So like, you know, take this for what it is.
Okay, so what you're saying might not take away the crazy. It might add to the crazy.
This is probably going to add to the crazy.
All right.
But I think that it does so in a way that's really good ultimately. Like the results will be great.
Yeah, you'll struggle, but it'll be okay.
It's much harder to get through. Like it's just going to take longer.
So what do you mean then? What are we talking about? How do we mess up our lives for a while and then get to good results?
So like an example, I'm just going to like start with how this exists in art and then how this can translate to your home. So for example, we talked about my stick piece, which was that I filled a room with strip sticks. So that means they were just straight sticks. There were no branches coming off of them.
These were outdoor sticks.
Like
these weren't fancy sticks.
Right.
Just sticks.
Just
things you'd burn.
Yep.
Hailey got them.
Afterwards, but just lined the gallery floor. So the entire floor was filled with sticks. And okay, like that's a fairly easy decision to make. But then I started to have to think about like, okay, well now like what I wear to pick up all of these sticks, which was the performance that I was seeing how many I could hold without, you know, giving up. Mm-hmm. So it took, I think, around like 40 minutes of me picking up sticks. That's how long I was picking up new sticks, was for 40 minutes. So at the end of it, I'm on the floor, you know, with like a giant pile that I'm just kind of like
carrying around,
it's leaning against me, right? Like
it was brutal to watch. It was very stressful.
Yeah, and it should be, because that was the feeling, right? Is like this is all stress that I feel like I carry in my daily life. So it should feel stressful. But the decisions that I needed to start making were, okay, what am I going to wear? And like, what does that mean? And also like down to the socks, you know, like I realized the day of that, oh, I haven't picked out a specific pair of socks to do this in. Wow. And that becomes important again. Like, okay, like that does need to be a decision, that it can't just be whatever socks I pull out of the drawer. It needs to be like, okay, why those socks?
So I can see where the driving you nuts thing comes in.
Right. And I think that applied to a home, like the design can just become extremely intentional in that way, because now we're not just picking like a lampshade that fits the lamp that we have. We're picking a lampshade because of, okay, what does that material do in this space? Why is it important that it's that material? Why is it important that it's that pattern? Why should it be metallic over black? All of that you can start to create some meaning from. And so it's not just picking out a lamp because it lights up and it works and like it fits, but because every single part of it was exactly intentional for the space and the environment that you're trying to create.
Well, the end result is so rewarding, versus something that's just whatever you picked. But yeah, it's quite a process.
Yeah. To
get it right. Now, I've done that not with a singular piece, but like things that I started collecting to go in the house. At first, as I'm creating decor, finding decor, I'd go to a couple department stores and you just buy things that look good. Well, I kind of got away from that because I started finding all these really unique pieces, and the unique pieces started to be, what I would find is that I would go and over the course of 3 or 4 months, whatever was in my head at that time becomes something that I keep resonating towards.
Yeah.
So I find these little things that have all these little gears in them.
Yeah.
I don't know why that matters to me, but I think it's the coolest thing in the world. So now when I'm going and finding new things, I'm like blind to all these other things that maybe in 8 months I'll find and like.
Right.
Because right now I'm looking for things that are all built around that concept, and I'll find things that maybe aren't gears, but they look like gears and they turn like gears, but there's something different. So I'm bringing those in. And it sounds ridiculous. I don't even know if it makes sense to anybody, but when I'm done, these things that I've created, they've got a story for me. They've got a journey that I've been on, and they all matter.
You have a relationship to the thing that you're putting in your home in a different level than like, okay, that fits the requirements, and so it's in. You're creating a relationship. It's like kind of applying the same logic to meeting the people. I think we can all be like really intentional about the people that we have in our lives and that we feel connected to. And I think that we can apply that to other things.
I like that.
Life.
I think that makes a lot of good sense. Hailey. You get a thumbs up for that one. Not easy to do.
Yeah.
But it's really rewarding. It's really fun. The last one you had, I really liked. I got to find it in my notes. Your idea was that installation art can inspire us to invite curiosity. And I think this is really big. We've talked about a lot of how important it is on the show to be curious. How does this really apply to interior design in your mind? Why is curiosity important? From my mom.
Yeah, exactly.
She's got her notepad out right now. I can hear the pen clicking.
It's so specific. It's for like every reason that you just kind of talked about with your gears, right? Mm-hmm. I think there has to be a moment in the story where we're curious, or else we're not really drawn in to the world. If we're not curious about something that we're reading, then like how drawn in can we really be if we don't have questions, or like if we don't feel that level of connection that invites some curiosity? I think like going back to relationships again, like I think relationships that have some lasting power are the people that continue to surprise us. Like if we know everything that person's going to do forever, like you lose some interest over time.
And you've seen a movie for the 7th time.
But if they keep you guessing, like if you can continue to be curious about what they're going to do next, then you stay engaged, right? And I think that that's a really important thing to bring into our home so we can continue to feel engaged by them and connected to them, not just we know them and we will know them forever.
So with stuff in our home, it's not really about bringing stuff into our home. That's not what you're talking about. You're talking about just nurturing the idea that I don't know it all yet. I don't understand everything yet. And I'm going to keep digging. I'm going to keep exploring. I mean, that's what we talked about with the installation art in the beginning is you walk in and I have no idea what I'm looking at. And rather than you saying, well, let me explain, you said, no, that means you're right there.
Yeah.
You're right on the cusp of where you need to be, is you're asking those questions. And I think that's where, for me, the reason this is important is because when I'm curious, that's where I solve things. That's where I find something that I hadn't thought about before. When you're just moving through something routine.
Yeah.
If I'm painting the same colors, because let's make it about interior design.
Yeah.
I'm painting the same colors just because I know it works. I know, I can just crank it out really fast.
Yeah.
I know what kind of things to bring in. I know what kind of rugs to look for. I can get whatever results. But when I start asking questions, I start getting a little more curious, trying to bring in something that's outside of my norm. It makes it harder. Everything becomes a little more complicated, but the end results can be so much bigger.
Yeah.
Because I'm finding answers that I never would have even thought to ask questions for.
Well, and it's like, I think you've talked about your sister before, and she had one of those like classic cat clocks with
the
like
eyes,
the eyes and the tail.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one of those moments, right? Like, she didn't try to find the reason to have that necessarily, but she allowed the curiosity with the joy that it created to exist for her to put that in her home and continue to feel like, I don't know why I like this so much, but it brings me some joy.
It was one of those really funny things, and I think it's one of the most important things. If I would think of the 5 things that we've covered on the show, 400 and whatever episodes, this is one of those 5 things that I think is so important, most important. And the concept was Laura found this cat. Everybody in her family, everybody around her thought it was hideous and just silly. And,
why do you have
joke that you're looking at it? But she couldn't walk away from it. And then when she did walk away from it, because everybody thinks it's dumb, I don't know why I love this. I don't know what memory it's stirring.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. She couldn't let it go.
Yeah.
And she bought it. And nobody could believe she bought it. And they hung it up. And nobody could believe she hung it up in her home because she was very, fancy with all the other things that she did. And then she's got this clock that's way out of the norm.
Yeah.
But she loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was her favorite thing. And then like a month later, 2 months later, I don't remember what. But my favorite part of the story was her son, college-age son at that time, came through and he said, of all the things that you've got in the house, my favorite thing. And she said, what is your favorite thing? Because we always do the when I die, what do you guys get? And Perfect. So that's my family's, we're dark humor. And she said, what do you want when I go? And he said, the clock, the cat clock. And she said, but everybody thought the cat clock was silly. He says, it's my favorite thing because it's the one thing in this whole house that just reminds me of you so easily and so perfectly because it's your humor, and she got there by being curious, by stepping outside of whatever.
Yeah,
zone,
even if people
like
didn't understand why it should go in her home, she was able to just like stay curious about it and live with the feeling that.
And the end results were so much happier. Does it fit with who cares at that point?
Right.
It just brings so much joy. And isn't that what we want?
Yeah.
I don't really need my home to be this immaculate. I mean, thank goodness. I don't need it to be this immaculate, pristinely decorated and organized perfectly, setting. I want it to be a happy place. That's first and foremost what I'm after. And that's what I found with all those weird gear things.
Right.
That's what Laura found with that weird cat. It makes you laugh. You have fun with it. I don't care who comes through and pulls their nose up.
No.
Unless it's Hailey, because you're so clear about it. You don't even hide it a little bit. But this stuff you would like.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think that it has a soul to it at that point.
That's the word right there. It has a soul to it.
Yeah. It's just a different level of connection that you have to those objects than the ones that we're supposed to have or that look right. Whatever that is.
All I know is it's a lot more fun. I mean, it is way more fun to go searching, questing for things to fill your home on a slow scale than it was ever for me to go somewhere and buy 12 of these things at once and now I'm done.
Yeah.
They all go together. They all look great. There's no soul in that. Not in my house anyway. I've got to have these little pieces. So invite curiosity. I don't remember what the other ones were. I don't have to recap them. People were there. Push rewind on the tape deck and you can hear again what those other things were. But that's the beauty of something like installation art where it is pushing us a little bit, a lot of us, and it's outside of what we normally think about. But there's still really good stuff to pull out of it, even if in itself that's not your thing. We talked
you
about,
could go in and hate what we have presented and I'm like, beautiful. You came and you
Really?
decided that like this makes you feel
Vomitous.
like you don't like it. Like that's still, because why? Like, why don't you like it then? I think becomes the question that you can think about. Like, okay, yeah, what is it about this that I don't like? Like, where is the feeling, or like, what is the material that's doing that? Or like, is it the lighting conditions? Like, and that can be a good thing. Like, I don't think that we should feel good about the level of disconnection that we feel from like human weight, right? So like, yeah, maybe it doesn't make you feel happy. And I think that that's like completely valid. And I think that's the hard stuff when it comes to art, is that not all of it is going to make us just feel joy. Like, you can live with feelings and it's okay.
Well, I know that, yeah, like your performance piece with all the sticks.
Yeah.
You know, what was that called again?
Fistful.
And there was no, I don't know what Hailey was intending to convey. There's an idea, because you've got an idea that you're trying to convey, but that's not the sole idea. It's free for whatever. And I'm watching you collect these sticks, and as she's going around, at first you got an armful and it's easy and it's kind of fun, and then it's getting heavier, and as we're watching the movie of it, because you filmed it, it's getting harder for you to hold them, harder for you to go. I'm getting antsy. You're trying to hold them with one arm and then reach to get other ones so you don't have to slide yourself across the floor with all of these other sticks. And all I'm thinking about are, you know, people who struggle with addictions, who it would be so good to let this go, even if you've got to reach for this other one. But this compulsion is taking over. You can't let go. Yeah. You're stuck with this burden that you're bearing. Yeah. But even though this burden is killing you, you're still reaching for another piece to add to the burden that's killing you. And I started thinking about all the things that I carry. Yeah. And, you know, at the end of the day, it was not a pleasant experience in that regard. And yet I'm still thinking about it. I'm still talking about it because it was a really powerful thing. And it helped me get inside my head and ask some questions. And I can't think of an example right now. There's been one or two times since that where I was doing something, not picking up sticks, nothing physical. And that went through my mind. I thought, I'm kind of doing the stick thing right now. And whatever you meant by it, that's one thing. That's what I took from it. And it has impacted me. And that was a year ago, right? Yeah, a year ago. There's a lot of value in art that we have no idea. And let me tell you, I don't have any idea. I don't understand half of what Hailey talks about. I nod, I smile, and I try to understand as best I can. And even though I don't get it all, there's still so much I can take from it. And I feel pretty highbrow and snooty after saying I've gone to some of these things. So there's a lot of value. If people want to be a part of it again, the date is March 14th. It's a Saturday. It's from 4:30 to 7:30 at Do Not Start in Grand Rapids. It's free. You'd love a donation. Yes. Yeah, I thought it was like $500. I mean, that would be amazing. $5 would be great too. Would be great. You've got a Fox News thing coming up too, right? Yes. We record that on Monday and it'll air on Fox, I believe, the following Tuesday. So yeah, just a few days away. All right. So good luck with that. Thank you. I mean, I'm just going to pretend like it's radio, right? Like they'll probably ask you about me. I'm assuming. Well, you have Did you work with that Dan? Did you work with Dan? He's pretty cool. Yeah. But don't just tell him it's not about me this time. Just you let him know. Yeah. Let him know Dan said, let it be about Hailey this time. All right. I'll put all of that info in the show notes. It's really good to catch up, Hailey. Yeah. Thanks for being here. Nice. And that's going to wrap things up for this episode of Home in Progress. Big thank you to Hailey Johnson, director and curator of Hammerspace in Grand Rapids, for joining us and sharing a bit about the work that she's doing there, as well as that upcoming exhibit, Heaviest, Heaviest, Heaviest. If you are interested in checking that out, the exhibition opens March 14, like we've said all show long, and you can find all the details, a lot of great info, at hammerspacegallery.com, so check that out. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen so you never miss a conversation. And if you know someone who really enjoys interior design, creativity, art, or just hearing interesting stories from people doing really fascinating things in our community, feel free to share the episode with them. That'd be great. All right, you can also follow along with what we're doing by searching for Home in Progress online, where we post new episodes and updates regularly. Thanks again for listening. For Home in Progress, I'm Dan Hansen. I'll see you next time.